So today let's discuss why the Canon R8 is a great option as a starter camera if you're getting into architecture and interior photography, and why I use it as my second body as a pro photographer.
For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is James Kerwin, and this is me. I'm an architecture and interior photographer from the UK that is now based in Istanbul. I love shooting heritage, abandoned places, relics, ruins, hidden gems and ghost towns, as well as off the beaten path locations all around the world. You can catch my content weekly, well, when life doesn't take over. So why don't you join me for the ride by subscribing, and you can also check out my website in the description below.
So why is this great for beginners? Well, first of all, full frame sensor. Canon R8 is a large full frame sensor, meaning more width and more into your architecture and interior photography. It's actually one major benefit because you going into small spaces, tight spaces, and having the full frame sensor just gives you more. It's also about 2.5 stops better on the dynamic range than the Canon RP, my previous second body. That means you can recover shadows, highlights much easier in this particular body. So for this kind of photography, perfect if you're not into kind of heavy editing your images. Being a full frame camera, this is going to have a much better ISO than other crop sensor bodies, for example. And getting into architecture photography, you're always going to be in dimly lit interiors, and this is going to give a much cleaner result. This has got a fully articulating screen, which of course you may say is a given in 2025, but it's actually not. And that's going to allow you to be able to get camera shots at any particular tripod height and be able to see the screen, including ceiling shots, upward shots, and more. The camera also features some tools like HDR stacking and focus bracketing, which may assist your shoot on location. Maybe it's for you, maybe not, but they're added features that definitely the RP in particular never had. Of course, I have it in my higher, more expensive body, the R5, but actually to have it in this too is a real feature. This comes in at literally well under half the price of my R5. That then allows you to be able to get good quality lenses to attach to your overall kit. If you're just looking to punch out a load of real estate interior photography and actually give it to clients, say like new homes, this kind of thing, then this thing is going to do a great job. Great entry level, it could get you started for under £1,000, and actually compare it with an older lens and actually you'd have a great setup to start shooting your interiors. When it comes to interiors, of course, you're then going to want a tripod too. This on a tripod is going to give you brilliant results. Now, of course, if I was comparing this to my Canon R5, there's a huge difference. But of course, with it, there is a massive price difference too. So I mentioned a minute ago that the R8 is about around 20 megapixels as a sensor. It's actually 24. So that's around 18 megapixels less than the R5. So it's not going to be great for all those high resolution prints, but it's going to do great stuff with tilt shift lenses. It's going to be able to adapt to them and increase that size up at least to kind of my smallest print size that I currently produce. It's got more of a pro build quality to the R5 than this one. This is a much more sort of slimmer, lighter, more plasticky body, although it's got the traditional hand grip that the Canon has. So it's always the same sort of setup there. Buttons are kind of easier, although they do feel a little bit more plasticky, and it's got a completely different dial system up top. We've got rid of the screen, a little LCD on the top of the camera when we're comparing it to the R5, and we just have a simple on-off switch here, just like that, and we have a little switch just here to go from video to photography mode, which as a second body is another benefit, because for me, I flip between photography and video quite quickly, and this button allows me to do it. Before, on the R5, it's a little push button, a little kind of push button on the front here, which you can, you know, alter the button arrangement, but it just makes it a little bit harder to kind of remember where it is if you're new to kind of shooting video, for example. This does not have IBIS. So in other words, the R5 does. If that's something you're relying on, like handheld video work, for example, I've got to be much more careful, but it's not an issue. What I'll tend to do is lock down my camera on the tripod to film myself anyway. And if I'm getting B-roll clips or some sort of shots, I'll just put it into a slower pace mode and be very careful when I'm guiding myself through the scene, capturing kind of slow motion video clips. Unless you're going to want extreme prints like I do with the R5, this is going to give you 90% of job coverage. Like you're going to go out into the real world and shoot here interiors, architecture, maybe stuff for clients and deliver it over social media, and this is going to do 90% of jobs, I would say. So why is this decent as a second body? And why is it a great option if you were going to add it to your equipment list and add it to your kit bag? Well, for me, this makes an amazing second body because of its weight, first of all. The weight of this is probably one of the current lightest full frame cameras that are mirrorless on the market. This is just over 400 gram, which means if you're just adding it in your bag as a backup camera or as a spare camera, or like I do for video content as well, then actually it's an amazing add-on, because it's not going to add that much weight and you're still going to get amazing quality content and of course shoot in low light environments. Now, because this is lighter, it's going to allow me to be able to put this in places where maybe my R5 can't be. For example, I could put this on a mini tripod with the right lens, the 16mm, the little pocket wizard 16mm. You could put that on there, put it on a little mini tripod, and you could put it into some awkward positions because it's such a lighter camera and a lighter lens setup. It would get you into some really cool little nooks and crannies, like windowsills, for example, to get behind the scenes footage or photography. One of the main reasons why I picked up this Canon R8 is actually to improve my workflow speed. In fact, it's the single solid reason why I did it, because this has smaller file sizes than my R5, and of course other cameras too. It's just a 20 megapixel sensor. But because I use tilt-shift lenses like so, when I'm shooting with my R5, that creates large panos if I'm creating panoramic work. In interior work, architecture work, we always do panos quite consistently, to be honest. This then allows me to do those panos but at a much lower resolution, which means it's going to speed up my workflow, because I can pick and choose when I'm going to use the R5 or the R8. If the photography location is less wow factor or less print worthy, let's say, to potential clients, to hang on their wall and so on, then I would probably select the R8 over the R5. And the reason for that is it can speed up my workflow, it can punch into a fair decent resolution. It's still going to give me 60 plus megapixels, but not the 100 plus that the R5 is going to produce, which of course is amazing for large format printing, but that is not for everybody. In fact, for me, if I'm going to, say, a religious location, a church location, or a grimy location, or something that's just not working for print, then I can use the R8 with my tilt shift and create a faster workflow. I think most professional photographers or pro photographers probably do have two bodies. For me, it's pretty essential, like a backup when I'm on site in case something goes wrong with the main camera, but also to allow me to get video footage or second angles and stuff like this. This is a perfect option for exactly that without lowering the overall image quality. What happens if I compared this then to my old second body, the Canon RP? Well, this R8 is going to have stronger shadows in the dynamic range, and the range of that dynamic range is going to be much greater. It's a full frame sensor, but it's also a much newer sensor. The RP at this point is much older technology. So actually the sensor on this is pretty much equivalent, is the same as the Canon R6 Mark II. So it's much newer technology than that old RP. The LCD on this Canon R8 is going to be much cleaner and sharper. It's not larger, the screen, but it's just a cleaner, crisper, nicer monitor that's on the back of it. So it's going to give you better options for being able to check fine detail when you're doing interior photography. The R8 is also going to buffer faster on those memory cards. It's got quicker backup speeds as well, so it's just a little another side benefit. To summarize all of this, this camera is going to be perfect for me as a setup, as a second camera. But if you're looking for a new entry-level kind of full-frame camera for architecture and interiors too, it's going to do you a wonderful job. Now I'm going to capture some images here in this space. I'm going to put those images on the screen, so it's going to give you a kind of idea of what that's looking like. I'm going to capture a panoramic. I'm going to shoot through the space, looking towards that door, and we're going to get kind of, hopefully, a really nice file size to work with, and quite a quick workflow too. Okay, so that pretty much wraps me up about this, the Canon R8. I shot this video over 2 countries, Albania and Italy. And actually I purchased this in July, way before the actual Albania scouting trip. And to be honest with you, I didn't use it much in Albania. I actually just did a few video clips and maybe 1 or 2 images. Then I actually came across here to Sicily. And during my 8 days with the participants, I did an editing session. In the morning, I went and photographed, and in the afternoon, I sat down to edit those files and look at them with the participants. I used the R8 for that, and then I put it through its paces much more throughout the week to kind of see what it could do. So as I'm standing here this afternoon on my final day on the island, it enables me to be able to endorse this camera much, much more. If you've got any questions about it, do put them down in the description below. I'll happily answer anything else you've got. But I am going to be doing more video content with this camera in the future. And of course, with this tripod and my lens and kit combination too. That's all for this week. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'll see you all very soon from here in Sicily. That's me out.